Welcome to my channel. I am GDP, and today we have the new hero Eloise. She is quite a good looking hero. Now the question is she a good hero? Before we get started, let's go ahead and talk about the abilities that Eloise has. She is a Shadow Ranger. She has a base speed of 1188, so she isn't that fast. She has a decent amount of HP and a decent amount of attack. So she doesn't have, it's pretty much in the middle of the pack here. It's not too high or not too low, but she is at 1188 speed, which does bring her on the slower side. So that does kind of play in her build a little bit, but I'm not going to talk about the build just yet. Let's go ahead and talk about the skills here. The last passive here, upon blocking an attack, this means an attack, an active or a basic, deals 600% attack damage to 3 random enemies and inflicts Scarred Soul on them for 2 rounds. Scarred Soul is a skill effect, so this means that it cannot be purified. So once they get this effect, they can't remove it. They're just going to have to take this damage. And when it's inflicted and at the end of each round, the target's going to be taking 4% of their max HP, capped at 1500% of Eloise's attack, and it'll also restore Eloise's HP by 25% of the damage dealt. So this does give Eloise a little bit of sustain. It gives her kind of an attack, kind of a Horus-like attack, where every time she's blocking, she's going to be doing a counterattack. At her normal stage, that I believe this is 400%, not 600%. Yes, that is correct. Whenever a hero is slain, all enemies lose 20% precision for 6 rounds, and Eloise has a 100% chance to gain 1 stack of Phantom Shadow, and Phantom Shadow is kind of like a Super Saiyan purple effect around her. So whenever you see that, that's when she has her Phantom Shadow, and basically all that is next time that she applies Scarred Soul, it is going to increase that Scarred Soul's damage by 50%. So at the V4, we're talking from a 4% on the counter up to a 6% HP damage. So that's pretty good because that is a ticking dot. And then you got her stat stick ability here, which gives her attack, HP, block, control immunity, and speed. The first thing that you do notice that is she is lacking natural DR, but she does kind of have other damage mitigation in the form of 70% block. And block is actually quite of a underrated stat a little bit, because each time you block, you actually do a lot of damage mitigation. So block is a decent stat. So it does give a little bit of damage mitigation, so she isn't super squishy if you do build her with some damage reduction in her kit. And she does have that 30% control immunity, so she is a little bit more resistant to CC. Moving on to her active here, deals 1000% of attack damage to 3 random enemies and reduces their attack by 20%, and inflicts Scarred Soul. And this Scarred Soul will do 16% of the target's max HP versus the counterattack's 4%. So this is a much stronger dot here. It does a lot more damage, and this is actually pretty much the bulk of her damage. And if you are able to get a Phantom Shadow application onto this active here, that means you are going to be doing 24% of the target's max HP, and that is going to be a dot for 2 rounds. So that's going to be on application at the end of this round, and then the next round too. So it's a lot of damage and actually does the bulk of her damage. So when you see this hero attacking, you're not going to be thinking this damage is doing a bunch of damage because she is not going to be critting. If you actually look at her stat sheet, she has no natural crit. She has 5% crit. That's from your guild tech as a ranger. So that 5% crit is super low, which means she is not going to be critting that much, which means the bulk of her damage is not coming from her basic or her active. It is actually coming from her Scarred Souls, which means it's from the dot application. Now, taking this into account here, knowing that the Scarred Soul is more potent on the active, it is more beneficial to get actives out because you're going to be dealing a bunch of damage, getting that large percent HP damage out as soon as possible in the first round, because that's pretty much what the meta wants. Is it wants a bunch of front-loaded damage in the first round and going into the second round. So I do prefer building her with that in mind when you're team comp. So you're either going to want to run a Splendid Crown on her. I've pretty much found that as the best artifact for her. If you're on a lower tiered account, a Fearless Armor or a Withered Armor will work just as well early game, mid game. So a Withered Armor would be pretty good. Personally, I have been using a Holy Damage Attack Stone. I do have Attack Stone as well. The reason why I chose the Holy Damage Attack is because it's not the Holy Damage. It does not scale with the dot on a Scarred Soul, but it does scale with the counter attack damage from blocking, and it also does scale with Queen counters that you have from bringing Queen in your team. So if you do have Queen in your team, I do believe having this Holy Damage Attack Stone can be beneficial to have those stronger Queen counters from her, and also to have every time she blocks, her natural counters are also a little bit stronger. Some other options are a Speed Attack Stone, obviously the Attack Stone, and the Block Attack Stone. Pretty much as you can see here, you are going to want attack in your stone, and you just going to want to choose where you want to go. If you want to go for a more speedy build or a slower build. I personally opt with a slower build because she is 1188 and she's going to be pretty much the slowest one anyways. So I just kind of play around with that in my team comp. But yeah, so I'm going with the Holy Damage Attack here with a full Ranger. And then I am going straight up full red enables on her. No speed, not HP. I'm not taking any of that. I just want to go straight attack to get as much damage out of my Scarred Soul as possible and out of my counter attacks from both the Queen counter and her own counter. So that's pretty much the build I have. I have tested out Splendid Staff with an energy feed that can work, but she is once again squishy. A Magic Stone Sword can work, but it's not as good as damage mitigation against an Asmodal active or an SFX active or anything like that. A Splendid Crown will better protect you against those. You do gain the control immunity from Magic Stone Sword, which is nice. But you also don't get the HP. So you do got to keep in mind if your HP is dropping too low, where you are now getting targeted by the enemy SFX, and that is not very good. So other artifacts you could use an AMB. Personally, I have tried the attack build, straight up attack with the AMB. You can get her stat sheet over 500,000 attack. She does have quite a bit. The only issue I found with the AMB is it does work really well against counterattacks and all that. But once again, the Asmodal active, the SFX active, the Queen actives, they all hurt her really, 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 really bad because she has no natural damage reduction. So the AMB can't really protect you from those large actives. So that is why I go with the Splendid Crown here, to give me that protection against those large actives in the large round, because honestly all you want her to do is to survive and get actives out and get those dots rolling is because that is where she's getting the bulk of her damage, is from those and her counter attacks. With this build, she does have a natural 95% block. So she is going to be blocking pretty much 8 out of the 10 times, because other people will be bringing most likely a Sphinx pet, which gives you 10% precision. So that's going to knock her down to 85% block. And then some other heroes like Ticks have their own 25% precision. But a lot of the other meta heroes don't have a whole lot of precision. So she is going to be blocking probably about 8 out of 10 times with this build. And then also every time a hero dies, you are going to be reducing precision on the enemy team by 20%. So you do have that in your benefit, but that can get purified. But personally, I don't really think you need the block in your attacks or the block attack stone. I don't think it's going to increase your effective DPS as much as versus a holy damage attack stone, but maybe something later on will change my mind on that. But there are several viable options for her stone, and I've already listed them. Now let's go ahead and talk about the team composition. For an end game, you are going to want to energy feed her. There are 2 methods to do that. The first method is the preferred one that I've been using a lot recently, is with an Ignis here. I've been using a Snowheart on the Ignis, positioning her to be faster than the Eloise, so she gets the active off in the first round. The other way would be to run some Demon Bells on, say, like some Rogans, or like a Rogan and your Queen. So that's pretty much the 2 methods that I've used in the clips that you're going to be seeing here. And then the other builds are pretty much standard on the other heroes. I am using a Splendid Staff of Punisher on my Asmodal a lot of times. Sometimes I'm going to also a Splendid Crown on him, kind of switching back and forth on those. And then in the Sherlock that you see in the videos will be a Splendid AMB Sherlock. Yeah, so overall, she is a very solid hero in PvP, and pretty much all stages of PvP. I do think she's going to perform well if you do build her correctly. I do think she's going to perform. I do think she does better in the front slot versus the back slot. And then also, if you do decide to build her as, like, say, your first E5 hero, she is going to clear Sealand 20. She does have that capability. I think it's going to be pretty easy. She's going to be able to get you to Death 1, I'm pretty sure. I can't test it, but I'm pretty dang sure she's going to be able to get you to Death 1 pretty easily. So those 2 are for your first E5. It's going to be great, and she's going to be useful in PvP as well. And then I have tested her out in the Realms Gate a little bit, and she does perform pretty well in Realms Gate stages 40 to 50. So that's kind of like where a lot of people are right now in the end game. So she can help you out in the Realms Gate, and I do think she might be able to help you out in some lower tier stages in the Vortex. So overall, I do think she's going to be a good hero for a newer player to build. She's going to perform in PvP. She's going to perform in the Void a little bit. And she's also going to be able to get you your Sealand 20 and get you to Death 1 if you need a hero for that. Let's go ahead and go into the clips now that I have prepared for you guys for some PvP. I know you guys have been waiting for them. I hope you guys enjoyed this little talk about her. I do think she is a very solid hero. Maybe not necessarily a hero that you must have right now to build if you're in the end game, but she does perform very well, and I do see potential for her in the future and her staying relevant. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and see you guys later.
In my mind, I slow